Hi, how's everybody doing tonight? Tonight you're going to be looking at lesson 15.4. We're talking about patterns and equations. We're going to be using a pattern table to figure out what our patterns are. Our first example is in column X we have the numbers 5, 2, 11, and 6. If you look from 5 to 15, that tells me that I'm going up. The numbers are getting larger, so therefore I would either be adding or multiplying a number to 5. So let's see if we can find our pattern. If I was going to multiply, it would be 5, hang on a minute here, 5 times 3. If I was going to add, it would be plus 10. Whoops, for the next one, that's a 10, people. There we go. For the 2, if I was going to be multiplying by 3, that would be a 6. If I was going to add, it would be 4. Let's do one more. That's a 3, right? Did I do that wrong? 11, if I was going to multiply by 3, it would be 33. If I was going to add, well, obviously the pattern is going to be multiplication at this point. Multiplying by 3 to 15, 2 times 3 is 6, 11 times 3 is 33, and 6 times 3 is 18. So the pattern is x times, now actually I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to use a different sign for multiplication. Times, ooh, can you see that? That's a dot. Times 3 equals y. Okay?
All right, let's take a look at another one. I need to figure out what I'm doing for my operation. So like Mrs. Lamori did with the other one, she knew she was going up, so it was either adding or multiplying. I can see I'm going from 18 to 9, so I am decreasing, so it's either subtraction or division. 18 minus 9 is 9, or 18 divided by 2 is 9. So one of those two will probably be my pattern. 50 minus 9 is not 25, but 25 divided by 2 is 25. Let's make sure that it is my pattern. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 34 divided by 2 is 17. So when I have my x, it's going to be divided by 2 is going to equal my y. So whatever I have for my x divided by 2 is going to equal my y. What's another way that we could write that? X divided by 2 equals y.
Okay, next one. Again, I'm going from 8 to 0, which tells me I'm going down. So once again, it's either going to be subtraction or division. So let's get started. 8 divided by 0 is 0. 12 divided by 0 is not 4. Let's go back up here now. 8 minus 8 is 0. 12 minus 8 is 4. 16 minus 8 is 8. 20 minus 8 is 12. And 9 minus 8 is 1. So my pattern is minus 8. To write that as an equation, I would go x minus 8 equals y.
All right, let's do one more example. You probably should notice that there are some blanks in here. So we are going to do our pattern, and then we're going to figure out what would go in those blank spots. The first one, I can't do much with the pattern because there's nothing under the y. But this one I can. 3 plus something is 8, plus 5. 3 times something is not 8. Let's see if plus 5 works out for this. 10 plus 5 equals 15. So I know my pattern is to add 5. I take my x, here's my x right here, I add 5, and I will equal my y. So we have 2 blanks to fill in. X plus 5 equals my y. So in this blank, I should be having a 5 there. Now in this one, it's something plus 5 should equal 12. Now what we worked on before is, since I'm adding and I want to go and I want to figure out the opposite of that, so I would do 12 minus 5 would equal 7. Your turn, Mrs. Lamar.
Alrighty then. Okay, so let's look at this column X. We've got a blank. Let's go to the next one. That's a 9. 9 to 36. We're going up. So once again, we're going to either multiply or add. So let's start with the 9. 9 times, excuse me, 4 is 36. How about let's try this. 6 times 4 is 24, and 4 times 4 is, our missing digit here would be 16. So the pattern is x times 4.
Now, Mrs. Murray, I'm going to ask, how come you don't put 2 x's next to each other? How come you use a dot instead of the multiplication sign?
Because that would get confusing and the kids wouldn't know what, some people might not recognize that and they might not understand what operation to use.
Oh, gotcha. Because then you'd have 2 x's right next to each other. Yep.
So let's go back up to the top now. I know that something times x is going to equal 64. Well, I have to work my problem backwards, so I'm going to use the inverse. So I'm going to say 64 divided by, which is the inverse of multiplication, 4, would give me 16. Okay?
All right. Take out your notes. Label it 15-4. Please copy this chart. While you're doing that, please pause it. See if you can figure it out, and then unpause it to see if you were correct. All right, so let's take a look to see if you were correct. I am going from 6 to 0, so I'm minusing 6. 8 to 2, I also am minusing 6. So 16 minus 6, 10 should have been in that blank. And Mrs. Lamari talked about the inverse. I need something minus the 6 to equal 1. Well, I'm going to do the inverse. I'm going to do 1 plus 6 would be 7, because 7 minus 6 equals 1. You should have also written down your equation. X minus 6 equals your y. One last one, copy it down. Mrs. Lamari will go over it and then see if you were correct.
Okay, large to small, we're going to either subtract or divide. Well, I'm going to start with division. 30 divided by 10 would give me 3. 40 divided by 10 would give me 4. These things. 50 divided by 10 would give me 5. Okay, so now I'm down to my last number, which is an 8. Now I'm going to use the inverse again. So instead of dividing, oh shoot, hang on, we're back. Instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply 8 times 10, which is going to give me 80, which would give you your missing digit. So your equation would write or read as this: x, excuse me, divided by 10 equals y. And I think that's it. I don't know if we have any other. That's it. So have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Adios.